I just love technical difficulties. We're back.
He's back.
You know, the troublemaker is back in the orange chair for another orange chair chat. This is the Rant Network, guys. And we're going to rant about something fun, I'm sure. You know, David and I have been doing this now for over 800 episodes, as crazy as that sounds. Can you imagine 800 Monday, Wednesday, Friday, noon Easterns? And the two of us have been going at it for that long. Actually, it's been going on for about 40 years plus. Anyways, guys, welcome to the Rant Network, a go-to podcast for unapologetic, unfiltered discussion, hosted by David Solomon. He's the guy who carries the fort when I'm traveling around and can't seem to get my crap together. And my name's Stuart Brisgell. We tackle a diverse range of topics, candid conversation, and bold opinions, whether it's breaking down the latest headlines, exploring pop culture, debating politics, or delving into complexities of modern life. This is a perspective from every corner. So grab a seat, settle in, and another thought-provoking conversation. Nothing is off limits. You know, many people don't get to see all facets of the news. I sit in front of news literally 24/7, 365. And David kind of does the same thing. It's kind of really funny. And we look at every news network, or they call themselves news networks. I'll say they're editorial networks. And you don't see much about what really goes on Columbia University campuses and dozens of campuses around the United States and the world. There's an organization that when you say an organization, you think of, I don't know, McDonald's, Salvation Army, the military, you know, UPS, an organization. Something that deploys and executes things in a timely manner in an organized fashion. We're not talking about these dancers that appear in the middle of the street and start dancing to the same music the same way, or maybe we are, because the coordination of what you have been a party to without even knowing it has been a well-coordinated effort to disrupt and cause massive disruption, not only in our campuses, but on the streets. Where is it legit? Where is it appropriate to call someone a dirty Jew or ask for the total annihilation of a state or a country? If I stood on the street and wore a white hood and said, I wanted all black people to be up in smoke, there would be riots to hang me upside down, and rightfully so. And if we remember, well, that was the 60s, 50s, 40s, and that went away the dodo birds. It was never considered correct by any standard, and it still isn't. So what makes this permissible in any institution? If I walked David into an office of one of your clients and I said any of these racist slurs, what would happen to me?
Yeah, you'd be tossed out on your ass with the police.
And if I was an executive of a company and I used any of these rhetorical type conversation talk points, what would happen to me?
Same thing.
If I was a professional anything and I used rhetoric like this, what would happen to me?
Well, if you were Whoopi Goldberg, you'd be suspended for 2 weeks, but that's about it.
Wow, 2 weeks. Damn. You know, for the bagel chasing, Afro styling Star Trek kind of girl who claims to be an elitist and someone in favor of world peace, she's probably, I guess, a little more racist than we might believe, correct?
I'm not commenting on that one, but yeah.
Yeah, that's okay, David. You don't have to. I understand. I'm taking this podcast to the limit today. It is so frustrating to listen to the liberal left try and spin insanity and tolerance in a way in which is purely racist. David?
Well,
how's that for a start?
I hear what you're saying, but I think that we have a bigger problem, Stuart.
Okay.
And yes, I agree with you that anti-Semitism is not. I'm not poo-pooing anti-Semitism on campuses. I think it's anti-Semitism is, and I've used this term. You know, it's the wolf in sheep's clothing. Okay, this is the problem, folks. When you go to Brooklyn College and you see there's another riot, and one of the rioters brings a baby to the riot. I mean, this is what I just said, Stuart. Another baby to the riot. And the police are like, you got to get this baby out of here. This is not about, like, we're not talking here about the what's the goal here, right? The goal is disruption. The role here is chaos. And if you look what happened at Columbia University when they went into Butler Library, over 100 of them, and they were arrested again by the police because Columbia University suddenly says, "Oh, there's nothing I could do. Oh, there's nothing I could do. Don't blame me. We believe in free speech."
Mhm.
For a year and a half, they wouldn't let police on campus. And now, oh, wait a second. Geez, there's the Trump administration that's threatening to take money away from me, and there is all this stuff. So, okay, let's call in the police. And Mayor Adams has stood by and said, he's standing with, peace and order as opposed to chaos, and he's being vilified for it.
Yep.
What people are not paying attention, Stuart, to, and this is the whole, wolf in sheep's clothing business that I'm saying, is that the use of anti-Semitism is a tool to a bigger a bigger goal.
Wow.
And that is, and and people have told me this is nuts, and this is like almost a conspiracy theory, but it's not, folks. The United States has shown its vulnerability. That over the last 16 years in the pre-Trump era, even during the Trump era, wokeism is rampant. And the left has taken over the media, the left has taken over universities, the left has taken over politics. We've allowed racist politicians to sit in government. We've allowed racist deans to run our so-called elite, but they're more elitist universities, the poison ivies of this world. And yet we continue to, the Irans, the Russias of this world are going, we can poke into this. We can disrupt society from within. Now, follow the money trail, Stuart. That's the problem. Follow the money trail. When Donald Trump threatens these groups, suddenly they cease and desist. But follow the money trail. Where does it lead to? And it's leading back to rogue nations. It's leading back to these hardcore left-leaning, rich, wealthy individuals who are trying to disrupt society. And this is what's going on. Don't tell me that it's some random bunch of kids, 6, 8, 10, 12 people. It isn't random, folks. This is superly well coordinated from day one. And go back to October 7, 2023. Israel hadn't fired a rocket, hasn't retaliated. Death was still fresh. And you had protests already occurring, going, death to Israel, death to the Jews, death to America. The retaliation is disproportionate. Nothing had happened yet.
But do you know what else? You know what else, David? Did you notice that they had as well the same color tents, the same color signs?
Exactly. Everything was identical.
Isn't that amazing?
Well funded, well coordinated. And now we talked about this in previous rants, Stuart, and we brought it up, but it's not stopping. And you know when it can stop, Stuart? And I say the word can because we're almost at a point where we're not able to. It's because the problem is that you have a so-called progressive party, as you singled out the Democrats before, who are encouraging this. If you're okay with allowing terrorists to come back, and I had a whole conversation with a guy yesterday, and he kept talking about due process and all that, and I said, stop it, time out. An illegal immigrant doesn't have the right of an American citizen. Can we stop already? Can we stop this lefty liberal mindset that every human being who walks in the door is treated the same? I'm sorry. And I know that sounds crass, but you came into the country illegally and I should give you the same rights as a citizen? No. And so if you come into the United States with a student visa, you're a guest. And if I were to invite you to my house and you come in and you don't like my dinner and you don't like my dishes, so you come in and you scream at me because my dinner is terrible and you smash my dishes, I have the right to throw you out of my house.
Correct.
Apparently not. See, that's the problem. So now while they're celebrating the same thing, the Democrats are celebrating that they tried to expel and throw out of the United States one of those leaders, these disruptors. The Democrats fought hard to keep him in the United States. Guess who's winning this war, Stuart?
Who's winning?
The chaos, the disruptors. And watch where this is going to. This is helping Iran. This is helping Russia. This is helping China. You are creating this chaos, and they're going to end up winning. So look what's going on during the Biden administration. You have wars breaking out on multiple fronts. You have this chaos on campuses breaking out. You have China threatening, you have Iran threatening, and put the pieces together of this puzzle, and you're seeing an attack on the United States, an overt war, and a covert war. People, if you don't wake up, the war will be over, and you'll be in deep trouble, Stuart.
David, I say this one more time, and I'll say it again. If this was about blacks, there'd be riots in the streets.
I think you're over. No, but I think you're.
I'm trying to
you're going in the wrong
cookie. I'm trying to give it to you as a black and white cookie.
No,
if
Stuart,
it was about any other minority group in America, there would be riots in the streets about this.
But you're making it about you're making this about racism, which you're right about. But where I'm trying to drive the point, my friend, is it's racism here is the tool. It's the asset that's being used. They know and understand that Americans and Westerners today, especially left-leaning in England, in France, in Canada, in other markets, that the Jew is the enemy. We got it. That's the tool being used.
But do you know who sort of is the modern author of that tool?
Who's that?
The Nazis.
Okay, but you're extending. You're what you're doing is I got it, but you're kind of you're dancing around the point.
Mm-hmm.
We know this is a Nazi-like movement. We know that whether it's the Nazis are the extreme right, and we know the communists are the extreme left, and they all went after Jews. We know that. But the tool being used here, Stuart, it's a Nazi-like tool being used by these lunatics, absolutely. But pay attention, Stuart. When you bring in Rashida Tlaib and an Ilhan Omar into government and you say it's okay for her to do whatever she wants,
these Tlaibs, I mean, they're I don't know how they stay elected.
Because because what's happened is you have the left is dominating messaging. You've got a media being controlled by the left who wants to. I mean, Stuart, when you get CNN, MSNBC, and the rest of the alphabet networks out there who continue to persist that American rights are being violated when you take a terrorist and a Venezuelan terrorist and you throw him out without due process. Like when you have the left continuing to message. Okay, when you have the NBC News person interview Trump and asking him and disrupting him and trying to get him to say, I don't care about the Constitution. They tried to corner him in an interview. This is not about order. It's about creating further chaos. And the left doesn't realize that the people they've allied themselves with are going to destroy the fabric of your country. If you want to become a socialist country, people, you're gonna break apart. Your union will break apart because you've got entire states who have no interest in being part of this psychotic cause. You talk to folks in Florida and Texas and Arizona, they don't want to be part of this movement, and it's going to break up your country.
David, I was out in California. And I'm not going to use any names at a conference. And we had someone take the stage who claimed he was from a Democrat to an independent. And the first words out of his mouth were, California leads the way in all aspects in life.
Well, that's just to show you how jaded they are, how well controlled and brainwashed that they are, to believe that paying the highest for gas, highest taxes, having a corrupt system, broken system, fires running rampant. What they've learned in California is when things go your way, take credit, and when things don't go your way, blame conservatives. That's all it is. And that's what you've got. And what you've got here, right now is a movement that has been festering. It's a virus. It's decades old. And cancer. People are comparing it to 1968. This isn't 1968, people. The Vietnam War, you did not have people going in Columbia campus screaming death to America. What they said is no more war. And they fought that. Now what you have in Colombia is no more America. Like, get real, people. This movement is much bigger than just going after Jews. The Jew is the tool, because it's the common enemy from the hard right and the hard left. Actually, you don't have to be so hard left anymore. Okay? They're the common enemy. That's your alliance that you're trying to create. But it's a bigger problem. And if it isn't taken care of, Stuart, your union is destroyed. And Russia, China, and Iran will be giving each other high fives.
And I'm not going to argue with that. But you know what time it is, David? It's time to wrap this podcast. So let's play the same music again, because I got it to work. And that brings this to a close. Another episode of the Rant Network. We truly appreciate you tuning in and sharing your time with us. Your support and engagement means the world, and it means everything to me. And the fact that David and I meet here Monday, Wednesday, noon Eastern, and Fridays for the last 5 years, I don't know, chances are we're going to be back Monday. If you got any comments, questions, or other concerns, send us a PM. We take these issues to heart. We read you. We hear you. And we're always going to be there for you. David, I want to say goodbye to all